Hey guys, welcome to my channel Easy Economics 67. Today is the third lecture of the law of DMU wherein we are going to discuss the exceptions to the law. So let us start. Exceptions to the law of DMU. See, exceptions means what? The meaning of exception is whatever is stated in the law. The following are the cases which we are going to study now, or the following are the things in which the law of DMU will not apply. The law of DMU does not hold true in the following cases, and such cases are called as exceptions to the law. I hope you got the meaning. So let us start with exceptions to the law of DMU. First exception is hobbies. See, people have different hobbies. Everybody got some hobbies. So in case of certain hobbies, such as some people have the hobby of coin collection, different stamps collection, even the hobbies of collecting rare paintings, music, reading, etc. So in case of such different hobbies, the law does not hold true. Because see, what happens is once a person is having hobby of certain thing, then his marginal utility for that particular thing also goes on increasing with every additional unit. For example, supposing I have the hobby of collection of coins, then as and when each and every coin goes on adding to my collection, I will find more and more marginal utility from each and every unit of coin. So this is how in case of hobbies, the marginal utility goes on increasing instead of diminishing. And that's why we say that hobbies is a exception to the law of DMU. Because here instead of falling, the marginal utility increases. But if we consider thoughtfully, here the assumption of homogeneity and continuity are violated. And that's why it's not the real exception if we think so. So in this case, in case of hobbies, homogeneity and continuity, these assumptions are violated. I hope you have already studied the assumptions. If not, then do refer to the second lecture of law of DMU wherein we have already discussed the assumptions in detail. Now let us move on to the second exception, that is miser. In case of miser, if a person is miser, then every additional rupee gives him more and more satisfaction. The MU of money tends to increase with an increase in his stock of money. See, in case of normal, common, rational people, what happens is once you start getting more and more money, once you become rich, then normally, in case of normal individual, rational individual, the MU of money tends to fall with the increase in stock. But if the MU of money does not falls with the increase in stock, then it is the case of miser. If a person is miser, then in his case the MU of money goes on increasing with his increase in the stock of money. And that's why miser is an exception to the law of DMU. But again, here the assumption of rationality is violated because miser is not a rational person. Whereas Dr. Alfred Marshall has already mentioned that certain assumptions have to be fulfilled for working of his law. But in this case, the assumption of rationality is violated. I hope you are getting the points. Point number 3, addictions. See, people have different addictions like smoking, alcohol, drugs. So in case of such addict people, in case of such addictions, the MU of anything, whatever commodity they are addicted to or whatever thing they are addicted to, then MU of such things may not diminish, rather it goes on increasing. Once a person takes drugs, then his addiction for the drugs, because of the addiction for the drugs, his marginal utility from additional drugs may go on increasing instead of decreasing. And that's why in case of such addictions, the law of DMU does not apply. But here again, the assumption of rationality is violated because once a person is addicted, a person is addict, that means he is not in a position to think rationally. His behavior is not rational behavior. Now let us move on to the fourth exception, which is very important, that is money. See, in case of money, actually, many economists argue differently. Like different economists have different opinion regarding this point of money. there is argument over this point of money, whether the MU of money falls or not. There is a great argument over it. Let us not fall into it. We will see this point from our exam point of view, whatever we are going to write for our exam. So let us start with the point money as an exception to the law of DMU. See, it is said that MU of money never becomes zero. MU of money does not diminish quickly because for the simple reason is money has general purchasing power. With the help of money we can buy many things, almost everything. So that's why money has the purchasing power, and hence the marginal utility of money does not diminish quickly. However, still some economists argue that the marginal utility of money is more to a poor person than to a rich person. For example, supposing whatever is the value of say 50,000 to a poor person, that will be much more as compared to the value of rupees 50,000 to a rich person. I hope you are getting with this example. And now let us move on to the last exception, that is abnormal conditions. See, there are abnormal conditions in the country, at our area, our surroundings. In situations, especially the countrywide, in situations like war, famine, or illness, in that case, whatever is the required commodity at that moment, the marginal utility of that particular commodity tends to increase. So, in case of abnormal conditions, whatever required commodities, required things, their marginal utility increases and it does not diminish. So abnormal conditions, this is also exception to the law of DMU. Many a times we forget to mention this condition. So do mention it. So with all this, we have seen that though there are exceptions to the law of DMU, still they are not real exceptions. They can't be held as real exceptions because in many cases, some or the other assumptions are being violated. And according to Dr. Alfred Marshall, if we follow the assumptions, then only his law of DMU will work. And since here the assumptions are being violated, the law of DMU cannot be expected to work. So though they are exceptions, they are not the real one. So we will also mention the conclusion under this answer that the law of DMU does not apply universally. I have written in the bold letters. I hope you got these exceptions. Hey guys, if you understood this, then do watch other lectures also which are uploaded on my channel, and do watch the playlist also. Please support me guys. If you got it, then make sure to like, share.